Cinema Kane, coming back at you with a list video this time. Well, we're into the new year, so why don't I do a top 5 worst movies of 2022. So, I obviously didn't see every movie that came out in 2022, but these are the 5 that I saw that I consider to be the worst movies of last year. So, starting at number 5, the remake of Firestarter. To begin with, I wasn't a huge fan of the original Firestarter. It's not a terrible movie by any stretch of the imagination, and it's a far sight better than this one, in my opinion. Firestarter is one of those movies that, if it's on and there's nothing else on, I'll watch it. But this movie, not only was I unimpressed by the cast, but I felt like it was a little too cut and paste. It reminded me way too much of the original. If you're going to remake something, do something more original with it. Don't just cut and paste. It's my thoughts on the matter. Moving on. Number 4 on the list is Morbius. As you know from watching the channel, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I like the character of Morbius in the comics and in the old cartoon series, but my God, will someone give Jared Leto a decent comic book movie already? He's a phenomenal actor, but man, this was such a stinker. Morbin time, it was not. It's not good at all. So I can't recommend this one. It's not a great movie. Now I will say this: if all you're planning on doing is MST 3000 while you're watching the movie, have at it, because it's perfect for that kind of thing. Number 3 on the list: Disney's live-action version of Pinocchio. I love Robert Zemeckis. I love Tom Hanks. I did not love this movie. The problem with this movie is a problem with pretty much every Disney remake that's a live-action remake of a classic animated film. The first question I always have is, why did that need to be remade? Animation is timeless. Animation doesn't allow the actors to, be standing there aging before your face. Animation is timeless because it's stuck in that moment when it was created. That's one of the reasons I love classic hand-drawn animation, especially Disney classic hand-drawn animation. This movie, not only does it feel tonally strange compared to its animated counterpart, but there are things in this remake that just feel completely out of place. Like the wall of clocks in the beginning is one thing. Like there's a freaking Who Framed Roger Rabbit cuckoo clock. I'm sorry. I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I love Robert Zemeckis, but this movie, wow. That's all I'm going to say about Pinocchio. It was such a bad experience for me. Now, number 2 on the list is the most recent installment in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, which came out on Netflix this year. And man, I mean, to say that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has ebbed and flowed with time is probably an understatement, because some of the sequels are really good. I'm Looking at You Part 2. Some of the remakes are not bad. I'm Looking at You, Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the early 2000s. I can't remember when it was made. Anyway, my point is, the sequels are generally, with the exception of Part 2, really terrible. And this one may actually somehow be worse than Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I hated this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I really did. Terrible flick. Now, all that aside, what was my number 1 least favorite movie of last year? Black Adam. Now you're probably thinking, with everything I've talked about, how can Black Adam be the worst? At least it was an original film that you'd never seen before. Well, that's true, and that would have been great had it been better. I like Dwayne Johnson. I think he's a good actor. He's a fun actor, if nothing else, and he generally picks fun projects that I enjoy seeing. However, Black Adam had so many problems with it. Structurally, tonally, bringing back Henry Cavill for an end credit scene that we now know is never going to happen. I just was not a fan of what they did here with the character Black Adam. And I will say this, I'm not overly familiar with the character Black Adam. Therefore, I can't speak to how good it was or wasn't with regard to being faithful to the character. Take that for what you will. All that said, I just really didn't enjoy Black Adam. I'm hoping once, the new DC regime gets set up over there that they'll actually, produce some quality stuff that we can all get behind. I enjoy DC, I do, but they have had their setbacks, and I feel like even DC fans have to admit that they've had their setbacks. All that said, those were my top 5 worst movies of last year. And stick around, because next episode we're going to have my top 5 best movies of last year. I'm your host, Cinema Kane. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time at the video store. Cinema Kane here, reminding you to like, subscribe, and click that bell notification so you know every time Cinema Kane has a new video uploaded. And I'll see you at the video store.